The majesty of God and human limitation. Beloved in Christ, in chapter 26, Job responds to Bildad with awe and reverence, highlighting the greatness of God and the limitations of human understanding. This chapter serves as a profound reflection on God's power, sovereignty, and the mystery of his creation. Job begins by addressing the feeble comfort of his friends, how you have helped the powerless, how you have saved the arm that is feeble. Job 26:2. He critiques their shallow attempts at consolation, emphasizing that true wisdom and comfort come from recognizing God's majesty, not from human judgment or platitudes. This reminds us that offering empathy and humility is far more valuable than empty words to someone in suffering. He then turns to describe God's immense power. He stretches out the north over empty space. He hangs the earth on nothing. Job 26:7. Job marvels at God's creative power, illustrating the vastness and incomprehensibility of the divine. The universe itself reflects God's wisdom and authority, reminding us that human perspective is limited. Job continues with vivid imagery of God's control over creation. He shuts up the sea behind doors when it bursts forth, and the clouds are his thick clouds of darkness. Job 26:11-12. These metaphors convey God's absolute dominion over natural forces. Beloved, this teaches us that the same God who governs the cosmos is intimately aware of our lives and trials. His power is beyond measure, yet he remains present with his people. Despite human knowledge and understanding, Job acknowledges the limits of our comprehension. Indeed, these are the fringes of his ways, but how small a whisper we hear of him. Job 26:14. Here Job humbly recognizes that no matter how learned or wise, humans can grasp only a fraction of God's wisdom. This encourages believers to submit with faith and trust, even in times of confusion or hardship. From Job chapter 26, we learn key spiritual lessons. God's majesty is beyond comprehension. The vastness of creation and divine power calls for awe, reverence, and humility. Limitations of human wisdom. Human counsel is often incomplete or misguided. True understanding comes from God. Faith amid mystery. Trusting God does not require full comprehension of his ways. It requires submission and reliance on his wisdom, empathy and humility in counsel. Like Job critiques his friends, we must speak gently and thoughtfully to the suffering. Beloved, Job chapter 26 teaches us to marvel at God's power, while humbly acknowledging our limitations. Life's trials may puzzle us, but the Creator who sustains the universe also holds our lives in his hands. Let us remain steadfast in faith, trusting that his wisdom, power, and presence are always with us, guiding, protecting, and sustaining us through every challenge. Job, chapter 27. Integrity and faithfulness amid suffering. Beloved in Christ, in chapter 27, Job firmly declares his integrity and faithfulness, despite the relentless suffering and harsh accusations from his friends. This chapter reveals the steadfastness of a righteous believer who refuses to curse God or abandon faith, offering a powerful lesson on enduring trials with unwavering trust. Job begins with a solemn oath, "As God lives, who has taken away my right, and the Almighty, who has made my soul bitter." Job 27:2. He asserts that he will maintain righteousness, rejecting any notion that his suffering is evidence of wrongdoing. Job's words remind us that external circumstances do not define our faith or moral standing. True integrity persists even when life seems unjust. He emphasizes his refusal to falsely accuse God. "Far be it from me that I should say you are right. Till I die, I will not put away my integrity from me." Job 27:5. Job's unwavering commitment highlights an essential principle. Faithfulness is not conditional upon comfort, prosperity, or approval from others. Our devotion to God is an internal conviction, steadfast regardless of life circumstances. Job also speaks about the fate of the wicked. The triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. Job 27:13. He contrasts the temporary success of the unrighteous with the enduring value of integrity and faithfulness. While Zophar and others warned of immediate punishment, Job demonstrates that righteousness is a matter of the heart and relationship with God, not merely external outcomes. From Job chapter 27, we learn several spiritual lessons for believers. Faithfulness despite suffering. Job models unwavering trust in God, even when life brings pain, loss, and misunderstanding. Integrity in adversity. Remaining morally and spiritually upright does not depend on circumstances. Integrity is a steadfast choice. Perspective on the wicked. While evil may prosper temporarily, God's ultimate justice ensures that righteousness prevails. Courage to testify. Job boldly speaks truth, defending his faith and integrity, inspiring believers to maintain honesty in prayer and confession. Beloved, Job chapter 27 teaches us that true faith and integrity are demonstrated in trials, not just in comfort. Life may bring hardship, false accusation, or isolation, yet enduring faith trusts God's wisdom and sovereignty. Job's steadfastness challenges us to submit fully to God, maintaining integrity and devotion even when life seems unjust. Let us hold firmly to the truth. Our faith is not measured by worldly success or avoidance of suffering, but by our enduring love, trust, and obedience to God. Like Job, we can declare with confidence that integrity and faithfulness are our eternal treasures in Christ. Job, chapter 28. The inestimable value of God's wisdom. Beloved in Christ, in chapter 28, Job shifts from lamenting his personal suffering to a profound reflection on the value of wisdom. This chapter highlights that true understanding cannot be found through human effort alone, but comes from God, who alone holds the key to life's deepest mysteries. Job begins by illustrating human skill and ingenuity. Surely there is a mine for silver and a place for gold that they refine. Job 28, 1-2. He describes how humans can explore the earth, dig tunnels, and extract precious metals. Yet, despite this mastery over physical resources, Job observes that wisdom and understanding remain elusive. Man puts an end to darkness and searches every recess of the ore. Job 28-3. He contrasts human achievement with the inaccessibility of wisdom. But where shall wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? Job 28:12. Human beings can master natural resources, yet true wisdom, moral, spiritual, and eternal, cannot be mined or purchased. This reminds us that life's most valuable treasures are not material, but spiritual. Job then declares the source of true wisdom. God understands the way to it, and he knows its place. Job 28:23. Only God knows the path to wisdom and grants it to those who seek him. Here, Job emphasizes the importance of humility and dependence on God. Human pride or reliance on personal intellect alone cannot produce genuine understanding. The chapter concludes with a timeless principle. The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Job 28:28. True wisdom begins with reverence for God and obedience to his ways. This verse encapsulates the essence of biblical wisdom: spiritual insight, moral discernment, and reverent submission to God's authority. From Job chapter 28, we learn key spiritual lessons. True wisdom comes from God. Human knowledge has limits. Divine insight is the ultimate source of understanding. Spiritual treasures surpass material wealth. Unlike gold or silver, wisdom and understanding are eternal and life-giving. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Reverence, obedience, and moral integrity are central to godly insight. Seek God with humility. Only by recognizing our dependence on Him can we access true knowledge and understanding. Beloved, Job chapter 28 reminds us to value spiritual wisdom above worldly possessions. Our faith journey calls us to seek God earnestly, fear Him sincerely, and walk in righteousness. Like Job, we are encouraged to recognize the limits of human knowledge and submit humbly to the One who holds all understanding. In every trial and decision, let us remember that wisdom is God-given, and fearing Him is the pathway to life, peace, and eternal insight. Job, chapter 29, remembering God's blessings and favor. Beloved in Christ, in chapter 29, Job reflects on the blessings, honor, and favor he once enjoyed. This chapter is a nostalgic meditation on the goodness of God in his earlier life and serves as a reminder to acknowledge and cherish God as past faithfulness, even amid present suffering. Job begins by expressing a longing for the days when God's favor was evident. Oh, that I were as in the months of old, as in the days when God watched over me. Job 29:2. He recalls a time when he felt secure, respected, and protected, recognizing that God's guidance had been central to his prosperity and peace. This teaches us the importance of remembering God's blessings in our lives, especially during times of trial. He recalls the honor he received from others. When I went out to the gate of the city, when I prepared my seat in the square. Job 29:7. Job was respected by his community, and the needy looked to him for help. His past life exemplified generosity, justice, and leadership, reflecting a heart aligned with God's principles. Beloved, this reminds us that God's favor manifests in both our character and the way others perceive and rely upon us. Job also remembers his personal joy and peace. When my steps were washed with butter, and the rock poured out for me streams of oil. Job 29:6. These poetic expressions symbolize abundance, nourishment, and God's provision, highlighting that spiritual and material blessings come from divine grace. Gratitude for these blessings strengthens faith, especially when facing hardship. From Job chapter 29, we learn several spiritual lessons. Remember God's faithfulness. Reflecting on past blessings strengthens hope and trust in God during trials. Live a life of integrity and generosity. Job's earlier reputation shows that God's favor often flows through righteous actions and concern for others. Gratitude amid suffering, even when life brings pain. Remembering God's provision nurtures faith and perseverance. Faith anchored in experience, recalling God's past guidance builds resilience and confidence in His continued care. Beloved, Job chapter 29 teaches us to cherish the memories of God's goodness. Reflection on blessings is not mere nostalgia, it is a spiritual practice that fortifies faith and reminds us of God's faithfulness. When we face trials, remembering how God has guided, protected, and provided strengthens our hope that He will continue to be present. Let us follow Job's example, honor God in our actions, serve others faithfully, and always remember the many ways God has blessed us. Even in the darkest seasons, looking back on His faithfulness encourages us to trust Him fully for the future. Job chapter 30. Enduring suffering and the pain of rejection, beloved in Christ. In chapter 30, Job vividly contrasts the prosperity and honor of his past with the humiliation and suffering he experiences in the present. This chapter reflects the deep anguish of a righteous believer who faces rejection, oppression, and affliction, yet continues to seek understanding and maintain faith in God. Job begins by recounting the contempt he now experiences. But now those who are younger than I mock me, whose fathers I disdained to put with the dogs of my flock. Job 31. Once respected, he is now ridiculed by the very people he once guided or mentored. Beloved, this reminds us that life can bring sudden reversals, and trials may come in the form of social humiliation or loss of status. He describes his physical suffering and weariness. My skin is black upon me, and my bones burn with fever. Job 30:30. Job's vivid imagery portrays the intensity of his pain and the toll of his trials on both body and spirit. Such honest expression of suffering shows that faith does not require the denial of pain. Rather, it allows us to bring every sorrow and complaint before God. Job also highlights the injustice he observes. They are gaunt, with famine-stricken faces. They gnaw the dry ground in the waste wilderness. Job 34. The oppressed and marginalized live in misery, yet Job recognizes that his own suffering, though personal, is part of a larger human experience. He identifies with the downtrodden, showing empathy even amid his own trials. From Job chapter 30, we draw several spiritual lessons. Faith in the midst of humiliation. Life may bring ridicule or social rejection, but our trust in God sustains us. Honesty in lament. Job demonstrates that bringing our deepest pain to God is an essential part of faith. Empathy in suffering. Experiencing affliction allows us to identify with and support those who suffer. Endurance through trials. Even when life feels overwhelming, persevering in faith is a witness to God's sustaining power. Beloved, Job chapter 30 teaches us that suffering, loss, and humiliation are part of the human journey, yet they do not diminish our relationship with God. Job's candid lament encourages believers to be honest before the Lord, to endure trials faithfully, and to maintain hope that God's justice and mercy will prevail. Let us follow Job's example. Even when our circumstances seem unbearable, let us remain steadfast in prayer, faithful in integrity, and compassionate toward others. In doing so, we honor God and strengthen our own spiritual resilience.